Welcome to Broadband Action, podcast presented by the Community Broadband Action Network. I'm Curtis Dean. Today's edition, we're going to be talking about the CBAN Spring Summit, which is coming up April 1st through 3rd, 2026 in Ames, Iowa. And we've got interviews with three of the people who are on our amazing speaker list. Gary Bolton with the Fiber Broadband Association, Brent Legg with Connected Nation, and Brian Mulhall with the Iowa Communication Network. So we'll be talking to them and getting a little preview of each of their presentations. So with no further ado, let's go. Our kickoff keynote speaker at the 2026 CBAN Spring Summit is Gary Bolton. And Gary is Executive Director, CEO of the Fiber Broadband Association. Did I get your title right, Gary?
President and CEO.
President and CEO.
Fiber Broadband Association, yes.
Yeah, and Gary is with us today. We're going to be talking about his presentation at the Spring Summit. So first of all, Gary, I want to thank you for finding some time in your busy day to help do this little teaser presentation, but also thank you greatly for taking the time to be able to come to Ames in April and be on our agenda. We really do appreciate that.
Oh, I wouldn't miss it, Curtis. It's a real privilege for me to be there. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. This is just an exciting year in our industry, and I look forward to sharing that with your audience coming up here not too long.
It's exciting, and also it gives us all a little trepidation because there's still so many uncertainties about the world, right? About the world of broadband, about BEAD, both the deployment funds and the potential for non-deployment funds, industry issues like, fiber availability, and we can talk about all that. And I know, but you will have lots of thoughts about all of that. But I do know the one thing that we're really going to focus on here at the Spring Summit that you'll be talking about is the relationship between the customer experience, which is the CX Factor is the name of our show,
right,
and how small providers, broadband providers that are FBA members or CBAN members or that have that real community focus, how that customer experience is such an important, well, as we call it, a moat in the competitive landscape here to protect yourself from all the different competitors that are now out there knocking on the doors of your customers and trying to get them to switch to you. So let's talk a little bit about that today. How have things evolved in the industry, and how do you see it from the standpoint of your Fiber Broadband Association members who are doing great things in your communities? What kind of are they starting to feel the pressure from some of these competitors that don't really have local roots, that are coming in from national? They're coming in from satellites. They're coming in from cell phone towers. They're coming in from various and sundry places. So how is that impacting your members?
Well, I would put it the other way around.
Okay.
Our association's been growing like crazy. We have 650 companies. Half of those are ISPs. The other half are the supply side. Mm-hmm. And what really makes, we just did a membership study to try to understand what really is driving people to want to be part of the Fiber Broadband Association. And what it comes down is that we really create the platform for which people in the industry can engage, because we have these member meetups and member mingles, and they're always, so many people show up, and I'm like, well, I mean, why would everybody show up for a cocktail party or a little member meetup before an event? And it's because, whether you're competitive, your ISPs and you're competing against different ISPs, or you're, wanting to work with your suppliers, or you want to, so competitors or, colleagues, everybody wants to be able to get together and to discuss what's latest in the industry. And what we're finding is, we have now like 20 working groups, and the amount of best practices we're generating is unbelievable. Mm. So there's about 2,500 people from our members that are working on these committees and working groups that are putting together white papers, best practices, and then we have our organic research as well to really drive the basically drive the industry forward. And so what I'm excited about in Ames is our marketing group has a white paper they've just finished on beyond price and speed. And as we, there's over 1,500 service providers now providing fiber. And, what we're seeing is that, Open Vault just released their fourth quarter numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and it was super interesting in that they were showing on upstream capacity. They showed when you have a provider providing both DOCSIS cable and fiber,
Right.
that from the same provider,
Mm-hmm.
in the same area, that those on fiber are consuming 66% more upstream than those to the, because the cable is averaging about 17 meg upstream.
Right.
And so
Right.
the other thing that's really interesting is year over year, we had these tiers, right? It's either you're trying to get into the lowest price tier or you want the highest capacity, right? So what we're seeing is it kind of two tiers that are emerging from a price
Mm-hmm.
perspective, but the low entry mark is between 200 to 400 megabits.
Right.
So no one wants 50 meg or 100 meg. They want at least 200 to 400 to even, their low price model. And so as you're starting to compete against fixed wireless, and you said LEO satellite and things like that, there's two things. One is to make sure that, you're on a robust fiber network so that you have the capacity and, the better technology, but then really to kind of think about, okay, so now we're going to start seeing more than one fiber provider in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had Ernesto Falcon from the California PUC on Fire for Breakfast a couple weeks ago, and they just completed a study in California that showed if there's more than one gigabit provider in each of their major metros across California, that would save subscribers $1 billion a year in their broadband subscription.
Right.
And our studies are also showing that while the typical uptakes start around 45% for fiber, when you have two fiber providers in the area, then you see 60% uptake of fiber. So there's plenty of business for more than one provider. So then now what is it that is going to differentiate you? And, you start thinking about your brand. And that brand starts from the day that you start to provide service or you enter into, I'll give you an example is I'm on an island, 1 mile by 3 mile island, and Live Oak Fiber came here. And, they started immediately with announcing that they're coming, and they started to build their brand from day one because, what my island's experience is when a Live Oak truck pulls up, what is their experience when they start to, they're trenching in front of our houses? How are they being able to, they were missiling, right? So they were very gentle on taking, cutting the earth, moving our grass, a pit, being able to missile over to the next area and then replacing that so that a day later you could never tell they were there. So the care they take in being able to deploy the fiber to the point where they start to get to your, actually put the fiber into your home, to the kind of packages and service. And so each of these opportunities is an opportunity to brand and build your reputation and build your relationship with your customers. So, and again, we have a great marketing group at Fiber Broadband Associations, ISPs that are all getting together to try to find out, how do we put together best practices
Right.
for our member companies and anybody in the industry. We're very, people join because they want to participate and be able to influence, but we share our data and our research widely because we're really, trying to elevate the whole industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's what events like this do, right? Whether it's our spring summit, Fiber Connect, which I'll be at again this year, and encourage everybody to attend. It's always a blast. It's really about the networking and the sharing, information sharing. You do learn things by sitting in on workshops and hearing fascinating speakers like Gary Bolton, but a lot of what you learn is just by the hallway conversations, the vendor show conversations, and that's the sort of thing you can't get by reading a white paper necessarily. You can't necessarily get by researching it on web. You can't get it from AI. You sometimes need that interpersonal contact. So that's why being in the room is so important. I want to just jet off on a tangent of one thing you talked about, Gary, because you're talking about markets with multiple fiber providers. It just fascinates me. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I was of the mindset that the first with fiber wins. They win the market because no one else will be able to justify building fiber there. That's just not true anymore, is it? We're seeing markets, and I'm in West Des Moines, Iowa, right, where we've got 4, in some cases 5 different fiber network providers in neighborhoods around here. And I just could have never envisioned that. Is that just because fiber has proven itself to be so superior that it's the thing that everybody aspires to?
Well, it's no doubt. I mean, if you look at a recent announcement on AT&T on the massive investment they're putting in AI, you think about what is going on with, as these providers are putting in fiber, is that they're building an asset that's very accretive and can build on. So what you're doing is you're building ARPU, your average revenue per user. So AT&T is a model. They're the first with fiber, they win the broadband business, but also nearly 45% of those fiber broadband subscribers then take their mobile wireless service. And so they're building on that. And then what they're able to do is reduce OpEx, because it's much easier to run and less costly. I was just with the cable industry about 2 weeks ago, and they are struggling because when you have an existing cable network, to upgrade to the next level of DOCSIS is very, very inexpensive. And so that you're kind of drawn into, well, I can for $15 a sub versus $750 a sub, I can upgrade to next level of DOCSIS. Well, meanwhile, they have all this OpEx, so they're it's killing them on OpEx, and they're losing subscribers because they have fiber competitors. So what they're doing is they're doing a lot of overbuilding. So in every new greenfield, they're doing fiber, and then when they're brownfield, they're trying to overbuild themselves with fiber so that they can reduce their operational operations expenses and be able to have more revenue per user by being able to provide more services. And kind of the next big thing is like I have 5 gig symmetric here on this island, and
nice.
But I have Wi-Fi 6E, which doesn't do 5 gig.
That won't do 5.
So, I need to have fiber to my desktop. And if you're a gamer, I talked to a lot of gamers. They would never dream of using Wi-Fi to connect to their PlayStation. They wanted to have a direct connection to fiber. Yeah. So again, there's all kinds of applications. Even today, I've been on the road. I got some kind of sinus thing, and I didn't have time to go to the doctor. So in 15 minutes, I was able to schedule a telehealth session with my doctor in Alabama. And, and I had a 10-minute tele session. He called in all my prescriptions, and I'm off to the races. So, I'm a fairly healthy guy, but if you think about anybody that has mobility issues, think about the elderly trying to get to the doctor, and especially in a snowy area, ice and things like that, that's a whole day affair. And
sure is.
The fact that we can just dial that up instantly is amazing. So it's really exciting on what's coming down. And I'm looking forward to being in Ames and talking to your audience. And just there's so much exciting stuff happening, and it's accelerating in a very exciting way.
It is, and we're really looking forward to your keynote. You're our kickoff speaker on right after breakfast on April 2nd. That's just a couple weeks away from when we're filming this. The day one of our spring summit is 7 different companies talking about their operational and business support systems, because there are a lot of operators looking to get more efficient there. So, then Gary, you're there for the kickoff of the full day of sessions, and we are really looking forward to seeing you there. And also Kim will be there, Kim Rickard, who's your road warrior extraordinaire. So
yeah, I missed her. I was down in Fort Lauderdale yesterday, and the exhibit said ended Monday, so I missed her. She's off to the next one, so I can't even keep up with her. Can't even catch
no,
her.
she is a dynamo, let me tell you. So I'm just glad to see her back, and we appreciate you guys being one of our sponsors too for our vendor show, and of course for your participation. So Gary, we will we'll let you get back to your busy day. Get those meds in there for your sinus thing, and we will see you in a couple of weeks in Ames.
Curtis, I can't wait to see you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think, that's really the whole thing is about building these relationships.
Yes, it is.
That's really how, we're able to really advance the industry.
Absolutely. Great. Gary Bolton, Fiber Broadband Association, thanks for joining us here today.
All right. See you guys in Ames.
See you there. Right now, I'm talking with Ryan Mulhall, and he is Executive Director of the Iowa Communications Network, as we call it here in Iowa, the ICN. Ryan, thanks for coming on today to talk to us a little bit about the ICN, but to preview your appearance at the CBAN Spring Summit coming up in just a couple of weeks. Thanks, Brian.
Yes, thank you, Curtis. Absolutely. Looking forward to it. It's one of the events that we have marked on our calendar that we want to make sure we attend every year now.
Yeah, you guys were there last year. And what was kind of your experience at our Spring Summit last year? What did you learn?
I mean, we had two major takeaways, I would say, from attending CBAN last year. At the ICN, generally, we don't go to conferences just talk about monetization. We go to figure out how to actually do it. And right now, the ICN's number one internal priority is completely overhauling our billing and operational systems by implementing a true telecom BSS OSS, which the ICN's never used. So last year's CBAN annual summit is where we actually realized these tools were within reach for us. And the dedicated tracks that CBAN provides are, 100% exactly what network operators need. It's the only place where we found where we can get in a room with the other operators and practitioners and, cut through the sales fluff and evaluate the telecom grade tools that are out there to help, stop revenue leakage and automate our business.
And we're back with our OSS BSS Spotlight series again this year. It's a whole day on April 1st. So thanks for helping me plug that. I appreciate that, Ryan. The ICN has been operating for how many years now? 30 years?
Over 30 years. Yeah. 34, 35, depending on how you look at it.
And our session we're doing, you're going to be joining me for our morning session, kind of a little bit of a fireside chat environment on the final day of the Spring Summit on April 3rd. And the topic of that is the ICN, the past, present, and future. So Ryan, the past is long and established in 30 plus years, but it's the present and the future that you're really focusing on right now, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, we've always operated as a pipe company where connectivity is the thing that we dealt with primarily as our core business and our core function. But obviously, the broadband and technology landscapes are changing. So we really have started to make that transition and pivot to a managed service provider. That will definitely be a big part of what we're pushing going forward into our fiscal year 27 and beyond. We just killed our legacy DMS 500 voice switch finally. That was long overdue. We have a 100 gig core that's upgradable to 400 gig as we need. And if we need to grow, we can do that very quickly and then aggressively rolling out network cybersecurity solutions. So, we'll definitely be taking a look at our strategic roadmap. And, there is legislation out there right now that will hopefully have some more fidelity on it by the time the conference rolls around. There's always historically been, push to either sell or privatize the ICN or expand who the ICN can provide users to. And that's really what this legislation is all about, is just using the asset that is the ICN and all the fiber we have in the ground in all 99 counties to serve more Iowans.
I don't think Iowans really appreciate how much of a pioneer we were in this area. The ICN was one of the first state-owned networks of its type, right?
Yes. Governor Branstad's foresight in that when he put all that fiber in the ground all those years ago, for sure. And it started as a two-way interactive video network for a way to connect rural classrooms, both in the K through 12 and especially the community college spaces. And since has grown to what we do. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more you can do with that fiber in the ground. So to what we do now, I think even most Iowans probably don't realize that every 911 call is transported across our network from the originating service providers to the local public safety answering points. We run a network on top of our network for the Iowa Hospital Association called the IRHTP that connects about 250 hospitals and clinics so they can share those big data files, the imaging files those things with low latency and high performance. And yes, I would say we've not done a good job at tooting our own horn for the importance and of the communications that ride our network.
What are the challenges you face? And we'll talk about a lot of this at our I don't want to steal all our thunder from our breakfast session, Ryan, but you're a person that is you have a state department, essentially a state entity, and you're trying to run it like a business. What are some of the challenges you face on an everyday basis in jibing the two of those together?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would say the biggest thing is kind of a sense of urgency amongst not only our staff but some of our customers, right? I mean, it's our processes can be slow. We like to think that we're faster than average, especially when it comes to service delivery and standing new services and things up. That's definitely somewhere where we've been focusing on improving. I will say probably our biggest differentiator though is in those times of crisis and being if we got a fiber cut out in rural Iowa, or, we got a piece of hardware that goes down, or, an optic that goes out somewhere, we take that personally, and we will get out there, as soon as possible. Generally within 2 hours, we'll be on the ground. We'll have it restored within 6 hours, no matter what. So that's kind of where we made our hay through the years. So we have the sense of urgency on that side, in a crisis, but maybe not so much when it comes to other parts of our business. And that's definitely something that we think the BSS OSS solution will help us. We have all these disparate systems that are, government tools or IT tools, and being able to run a telecom business with the tool is going to pay big dividends for us, for sure.
Well, our session that we're going to do at the Spring Summit on the morning of April 3rd is called the Past, Present, and Future of the ICN. So what's in your crystal ball for the future? Ryan, maybe some of the same things we've touched on here, but where do you see the ICN and its mission moving in the future?
For sure. So it definitely, as we lean in more to being a managed service provider, we've got some reseller agreements that we've brought on within the last year or two. Zoom specifically, which we don't need to run a video network anymore, right? We probably held on to that too long for some of our customers. But yeah, I mean, you got Zoom, you got Teams, you got WebEx. Just two-way interactive video is obviously not a technology that's needed anymore. And then the other reseller relationship we have is with Fortinet. So we've within the last couple of years, we used to outsource our managed firewall service to the private sector, and we since brought that in-house and have now started to grow that, especially for those rural schools that, their PE teacher or their superintendent might also be the one providing their technology. So being able to really, provide those types of services that might be out of reach for them due to cost or whatever. So we're very sensitive and always will be. I mean, we were born out of, providing services to the education sector. So they will always be, when we develop our solutions and things, I mean, it's generally hand in hand with them, understanding what their needs are, and then, being able to deliver it cost effectively, because they're, that is another sensitivity we have, obviously, being a state government entity is, and we run completely on our fees for our services. I mean, if we got appropriations, that would be helpful, but also, budgets are shrinking, our customers' budgets are shrinking. So, if we can design the best service in the world, but if it's not affordable, especially to those rural education customers, it's probably not something that we'll be looking at providing.
So anything else you'd like to share as we tease people to come to the Spring Summit and especially our April 3rd morning session?
I'm just really looking forward to connecting with other community operators out there. The broadband community is generally a small, tight-knit community, and, being able to learn and share different things about what everybody's facing. We're all kind of generally facing the same problems, right? We're in what's, considered more and more a commodity type business where people want more bandwidth for less money. And just really being able to share ideas, create those strategic partnerships, and learn from and help each other is what I'm looking most forward to, and hopefully I can provide some value to those that attend and listen to our session.
Great. And we look forward to all the other networking that will be taking place. And it'll be great to see you there again, Ryan. Our guest today, we've been talking with Ryan Mulhall. He's the Executive Director of the Iowa Communications Network. He is our morning session, plenary session speaker, along with yours truly. We'll have a little fireside chat about the past, present, and future of the ICN. Ryan, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Curtis. Looking forward to it. See you next month.
You bet. Another session that I'm looking forward to at our CBAN 2026 Spring Summit is this gentleman right here, Brent Legg, is going to be presenting on the need for more carrier-neutral IXPs. And Brent, thanks for coming on today to tease that session a little bit. Appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to do that.
My pleasure, Curtis.
Well, first of all, let's let everybody know who you are. You are with Connected Nation, and in your role at Connected Nation, you have been either assigned the mission or accepted the mission to try to play a role in getting more internet exchange points available across the country, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, we maybe have some lay people that are watching this. What is an internet exchange point, or IXP?
Well, we oftentimes make them analogous to airports, right? Because airports have their critical infrastructure. They have physical real estate elements to them that ultimately bring people together and allow for the flow of goods and services and people across jurisdictions. And as you think about the terminal building, the gates, the runways, the concessions, all of the underlying infrastructure that makes up an airport, internet exchange points are similar in that they are the fundamental interconnection infrastructure for how the internet works. This is not a new concept. There are buildings, that you would know of by their street address, frankly, in many cities across the country, 60 Hudson Street in New York and 56 Marietta Street in Atlanta and 1102 Grand Boulevard in Kansas City. These are buildings where networks converge to physically exchange data traffic. So local ISPs, tier one carriers, transport network operators, cloud and content, neocloud, all of these different types of network operators converge in internet exchange points to exchange data traffic in much the same way that airports serve to connect people and goods that are flown into a region. Okay,
so where are these IXPs now? If we're using the airport analogy, is it the NFL cities that have these now? The places that we think of with big major hub airports.
Yeah, in many cases that's true. So like 60 Hudson Street in New York, as I mentioned, 56 Marietta Street in Atlanta, 1102 Grand in Kansas City. These are places where, historically telegraph and then telephone networks converged. And some of the same buildings where that activity occurred are places now where fiber optic networks converge. And, our point is that in the realm of where we're headed in terms of AI, there need to be more convergence points for data traffic all across the U.S., all across the globe. In the U.S., there are about 57 major metro areas that are home to what we would call internet exchange points or carrier hotels for this purpose. And there are a total of about 125 facilities in those 57 metro areas that act for that purpose. We believe that number needs to at least double, and it needs to move into smaller cities like Wichita, Kansas, where we're building our first alpha site as we speak, and will be operational in July.
So what's the advantage of having a smaller IXP in a city like Wichita? What's the advantage for not only the people who live in that region, but the carriers themselves and the people who provide the services and that go over the internet?
Yeah, well, I'll use Wichita as an example, right? So right now, Wichita is a city of over 300,000 people, bedroom community of another 300 or so thousand people. So a metro area of 600 to 700,000 people that, from an internet perspective, is wholly dependent upon Kansas City, Missouri, and Denver, and a little bit on Dallas, but not quite so much on Dallas, in terms of the routing of every bit of data that flows out of Wichita is going to go through one of those cities first before it ever gets exchanged with another network. And the problem with that is, going back to my airport analogy, is that nonstops actually are better if you're trying to travel from point A to point Z, right? So the issue that I think that we're going to be confronting as a country is that the existing internet ecosystem is not meant for low latency connectivity. There's very inefficient tromboning of traffic, we like to say, sending data far off to be exchanged only to return right back to where it originated. We're seeing a lot of that today. And that sort of architecture is not going to support the low latency demands of inference-based and agentic AI in the future. And it's also not going to support the cost reduction that we're going to need to see on a wholesale basis to be able to make all of this work and to work well for all people. And so that's what internet exchange points do. It's not a panacea where it changes everything all at once. It's something that has to be put into place and built, and then it becomes the address that networks build to and from. And over time, it becomes the junction point for the internet in a region. And that's really what happened to 1102 Grand Boulevard in Kansas City, Missouri, as the main carrier hotel IXP in the Midwest Plain States region. 12 or so years ago, it was nothing. And now there are, I think, over 170 networks, individual respective network operators that interconnect at 1102 Grand in Kansas City. We need to do that in cities like Wichita and a lot of other places like Wichita across the country.
So Wichita is kind of the first time that you've and Connected Nation have engaged in this exercise. You're looking at other areas. What do you look for in a city or a region for it to be a potential host of an IXP?
Well, this is new for Connected Nation as an organization, but we formed a 50-50 joint venture. So the nonprofit owns 50% of this JV with our partner, Hunter Newby. Hunter has been a pioneer in the carrier hotel and interconnection space, going back to his days at Telex at 60 Hudson Street in New York. He created the Meet Me Room business in that building. They went on to acquire 56 Marriott in Atlanta. And he at one time owned 1102 Grand Boulevard in Kansas City. He has built his career building these junction points for the internet. And he found a home in our partnership to go develop these facilities to the next tier of cities. So while Wichita is the first deployment that we're doing under this joint venture, it is certainly not Hunter's first venture at all in this space. And we're very grateful to have him. And he is known, by the way, for never allowing monthly recurring cross-connect fees to be charged in his facilities. So we are committed to never doing that, never charging monthly recurring cross-connect fees, because we think that actually depresses the interconnection ecosystem that we're actually trying to get going in a city like Wichita. So that's what would definitely set us apart from companies like Equinix, where that's a core part of their business model to charge for on a monthly basis, on a recurring basis, for every single cross connect in a building. So we are committed to doing that. And to answer your question, though, what we look for in cities. So we've identified 125 markets across the country where IXP development, we believe, is needed within the next 5 or so years. Those are cities of at least around 100,000 people and up. There are some exceptions to that rule, but enough economic activity occurring in that region to be able to support a commercial airport where there's commercial air service going on, where there's enough fiber deployed in that community for several different network operators that are providing both last mile service as well as dark fiber or lit transport service into and out of those communities. We like to go to places where there is a research university of at least 10,000 students located in that area. We like to partner with them. We're like in Wichita, we're actually placing this facility on Wichita State University land. And we want to form a partnership with every university in every town that we're targeting. And then we also look at, fundamentally, is there an existing place where networks converge? Does that facility have an internet exchange switch fabric operating in it? If not, then they're a candidate for what we're doing. And if there is an existing one in the region, and there are a few cities on our target list where there are existing facilities, is that facility actually meeting the needs of the region? Or are there material issues related to the building? We've been told, horror stories about buildings that leak water, and that threaten the viability of infrastructure inside the building, but there's no other place for network operators to go. So it just continues, in status quo. And so there are a few metro regions on our target list where that is the case, and where we're looking to become to become the facility that addresses those root issues.
So Brent, you're speaking at our CBAN Spring Summit. We're going to have a lot of providers there. A lot of those are smaller companies, that are representing rural areas and smaller towns. Why is this something that should matter if you're a general manager of a telephone cooperative in Kansas?
Well, every local telecom operator in a place like Kansas or a place like Iowa, or really anywhere, has to be thinking about the cost of the IP transit services that they buy to get access to the global internet routing table at layer 3 of the OSI model, right? But they also have to be thinking about ways that they can hand off traffic at layer 2 to network operators like Akamai and Cloudflare and Netflix and Microsoft and Google, et cetera. As a means of more efficiently routing that data traffic and containing costs. So we first got into this IXP development space because we were focused on how do we reduce the price of the monthly cost of internet service that school districts were paying. We actually launched our first sort of pilot initiative in Eastern Iowa, where the school districts in Eastern Iowa were paying $2, $3, $4 a megabit per month for access to the global internet routing table. And that was crazy. When a metro area at the time, you could go to Chicago or you could go to Kansas City and get wholesale IP transit at 5 cents a megabit. So why the difference? It's because there's no neutral meet point in places like, at the time, Iowa City, where we were undertaking this pilot project. And now today, if a company like Hurricane Electric is popping a site in a region, they're offering 5 cents per megabit per month on a wholesale basis at layer 3. So all the local internet service providers that are paying more than that stand to benefit. And they also, we're also moving into an era where latency matters and efficient data traffic routing matters. And so being able to hand off that traffic directly at layer 2 to those cloud and content networks is going to be increasingly important for local telcos in rural America.
Well, Brent, your presentation is coming up on April 3rd. That's Friday, April 3rd, the day 3 of the CBAN Spring Summit. It's at 10 a.m. It's called The Need for More Carrier Neutral IXPs. And Brent, we want to thank you for coming on and giving us a little teaser here. And hopefully you have a nice packed room on April 3rd.
I'm looking forward to it, Curtis. Thank you for including me and inviting me.
My pleasure. Brent Legg is with Connected Nation.